Mko tayari pande hiyo? Mko sorted? Sawa. Maji mengia ya kutosha. So hello everybody, and welcome at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. It is 3 p.m. in Kenya. We are ready to bring you the baby elephants, having the bottles at 3. We feed them on intervals of 3 hours, day and night, and this is one of the feeding times, and that's why we shall be bringing them here. Normally we take the milk out to them in the park where they are, but we want to ensure that you get to see them, since it has been a long time when we had a pandemic coming all over the world, and we've not been able to bring the public viewings. And so you'll be able to see 12 baby elephants that are in the nursery at the moment. And the keepers are ready with the bottles. The mud bath is ready with the water for them to roll in if they want. The dust pile is ready for them. And these elephants spend the day in the park so that they can learn by natural instinct on how to behave as wild elephants, since we don't stay with them in the nursery forever. We only take care of them here for the first 3 years, and after 3 years start to reintroduce them back into the world, and we'll always reintroduce them to Tsavo East National Park and Kibwezi Forest. We've got our teams of keepers that will monitor them out in the park in Tsavo as they interact and communicate and make friends with different groups of wild elephants, until the time the relationship between our orphans and the wild elephants becomes a strong bond. Then our orphans will be invited and adopted in a herd of wild elephants. And once they get adopted, then we set them free and let them become wild once again. And when we see that happen, then we can say we've achieved our target. Our main target here is to rescue them, since they've been found orphans, and read them, and later on reintroducing them back into the world. They always know the time. They're always in a hurry when it is feeding time. And that's why you'll see them running in. We already have a group of 4 joining us anytime now. And the one that is leading them today is Maktau, which is not always. It is always Mukoka in front. But today, Mukoka seems to have been left behind to join the second group. I will mention the names as they get the bottles. Right close is an elephant by the name Kiombo, who is over 2.5 years, almost 3, who was rescued from the Masai Mara, who was identified all alone within the park at the age of about a year old, which is not normal. Naturally, a young elephant will need to suckle the mother's milk for the first 2 years minimum. So if they happen to lose the mother when they're below 2, it is obvious that they cannot survive. They can easily starve to death, or sometimes can be attacked and killed by the lions or the hyenas. So that is why we have to rescue them. Kiombo, at below a year old, he could not have survived all alone out in the world, and that's why we had to rescue him. The 2 young ones, youngsters, Roho and Naleku, they always like to push around, like to size around. They always like to show who is stronger than the other, and that is exactly what they were doing. Close behind here is Roho, who is the youngest boy, about 1.5 years old, having been rescued from Tsavo West National Park. The mother believed to have been killed by poachers, and the baby left alone while at the age of about 7 months. And that's why we had to come in and help rescue him. Right now he's approximately 1.5 years. Adjusted well in the nursery, though took him a long time to adjust. And this is because he saw what happened to the mother, which caused him a lot of stress and trauma. Elephants will get a lot of traumatized and stressed if they lose their families, or if they're separated from the families, because they're social animals. They're just like we human beings. If you lose a family member, you are stressed, you are sad, you mourn, and that is what happens to the elephants as well. So Roho, having seen what happened to the mother, caused him a lot of challenges, and that's why he was totally hooked to all the big girls in the nursery. By then it was Tagwa and Tamiui, and after the 2 left, he's now hooked to Maisha, who is the main matriarch in the nursery. Slowly by slowly, he will adjust. As we've realized he's adjusting, he's trying to do things by his own. which means he'll come back to normal and stay a natural life out there. Next to Roho is youngest, but they look the same size. And this is Naleku, the youngest, overall youngest and the youngest girl. She's only a year old. Actually, she attained 1 year last month. She was rescued from the Masai Mara, and her mother is believed to have died from a natural disease. She was left in the company of an auntie, and this auntie already had her own baby that was breastfeeding, and so she could not provide milk to two young babies, and that's why she could only provide protection to Naleku and no milk, which means Naleku would have starved to death in the long run if not rescued. And that's why a decision was made for her rescue. Right now, she's about a year old. She's a very independent elephant, very determined, and she likes to do her own things. And that's why when she's out in the park, she wants to go and feed at different directions all by herself. She wants to go and play with the dust and the water all by herself. She makes her own decisions. She's not like a Roho who will want to be directed by a Maisha or Nabulu. And so she'll be a very independent elephant when she's fully grown, and a very strong matriarchal character when she becomes wild and goes out there. Next to her is Maktau, who is 2.5 years. And Maktau was rescued from Sava Conservation Area, a place called Maktau. Remember, we named them after the place they were found, or reasons that caused them to be left orphans, or something significant around the area where they were found. And that is why Maktau was rescued from an area called Maktau in Savo. He was found in a community all alone while at the age of about 3 months, which means at 3 months he still needed the mother's milk. As we've said, they need the mother's milk for a minimum of 2 years, and at 3 months meant that he was total orphan. Nobody knew the whereabouts of the mother and the rest of the family members, but being found in our community suspects that he might have been separated from his family by human beings, and so he's a victim of human wildlife conflict. Right now, 2.5, almost 3 years old, and when he attains 3, he'll be ready to go back into the world. He's the second oldest after Kiombo, who is the oldest boy. I do have Laro next to me trying to get water from the water hole, and Laro is about 2 years old, having been rescued from Masai Mara. Olaro Conservancy identified all along within this conservancy and believed to have been separated from her family by human beings. And you might have known that in the Mara we've got lots of conservancies, and the animals will move from one area to the other. Sometimes they come into the communities, and so during that movement from one area to the other, there might be conflicts, and that's why we suspect she might have been separated from her family by human beings, and so she's a victim of human wildlife conflict. Right now at 2 years old, and having settled very well in the nursery, having made friends with everybody around, considering the fact that she stayed for a long time, being the only youngest elephant in the nursery before we got another young one. We do have Naboishu, who is almost 2 years. Naboishu was rescued from the Masai Mara. The mother also believed to have died from a natural disease. He was left all alone, and that's why we had to rescue him, because he was under the age of 2. He was only 18 months old, which means he was still young, he still needed milk. And also at this age, the lions can easily attack. A group of lions can attack an elephant who is about 5 years, and that is why Naboishu at the age of 18 months was at a big risk, and that's why he had to be rescued. We do have the latest arrival in the nursery, Olorian, who is approximately 18 months. And Olorian was rescued from the Masai Mara, identified all alone within the park. Nobody knows exactly the whereabouts of the mother. And when a young elephant is seen all alone within the forest or within the park, the rangers are informed and will make a follow-up trying to find out where the mother is, where the rest of the family members are, because sometimes the family members might be within the vicinity, and if they can be traced, then they are reunited together with the baby. But if they can't be traced, that is when a rescue has to come in. So we took some time the rangers trying to monitor Olorian, hoping that she will be reunited with the family. But after discovering that her condition was deteriorating, her condition was getting worse, a decision had to be made very fast, because if you wait for too long, then you lose the baby. So you will not have saved anything. And that's why Olorian had to be rescued and brought to the nursery. She was very thin when she came in, but she's improved a lot for the 1 month that she's been around. She's gained some strength and some muscles on the body, and she can run and play with the others, and she's gaining courage as well. Because when she was still new, she could feel she's weak, and the others could easily push her to the ground. But right now, she's discovered that she's gotten some strength, and that's why she's interacting very well with everyone else. We do have Kiasa next to me, and Kiasa is about 3 years old. She's an elephant that was rescued from Sava Conservation Area when she was the age of 8 months, and the mother is believed to have died from starvation due to drought. When we had the long period of drought in the country, causing lots of animals to die because there's no rain, there's no water, there's no food. And when such like things happen, the babies will keep on trying to suckle everything that the mother has, and that's why the mother will die first and the baby left behind. So that is a case that happened to Kiasa's mother, and that's why she was left alone. Right now, approximately 3 years old, and she's also trying to become a good matriarch. Her good matriarchal role started to show out when Rojo came in. She became too close to Rojo. She was too attached to Rojo and very protective of Rojo. She always wanted to be Rojo, despite the fact that Tagwa and Tamiyoyo could do that. But you'll see her wanting to snatch Rojo from them and take care of her. And that's when we realized that she can make a good mother, despite the fact that we've known her as the naughtiest elephant around. And she's a no-nonsense elephant when it's time for a milk. You have to give her space and time. After milk, then she becomes a good mother. Next, we've got Mukoka, who is over 2 years old now. And Mukoka was rescued from northern part of Asabo East National Park, a place called Idumba. And this is an area where we've got one of our stockades where we reintroduce the elephants. Mukoka was identified all alone by our aerial surveillance who are on patrol, who found the baby all alone within the park, who believed that the rest of the family members might be around. And so they decided to observe and see the baby rejoining with the family. But after a long period of waiting, there wasn't any, which means that Mukoka was an orphan, and at the age of about 7 months, it is obvious that he could not have survived. That's why a decision was made to rescue him. And that's why we brought him in the nursery. You might want to ask, how do you know the ages? How did you know that he was 7 months? There are a number of things we look at to approximate their ages. And since we've seen elephant at birth and growing at different stages, different ages, the size of an elephant does not really tell the age. So we look at, first of all, the umbilical cord. When an elephant is born, the umbilical cord will take about a month to dry and drop off. So when one comes in and the umbilical cord is still very wet and still on, obviously that elephant is below a month. And after 1 month, it dries and drops off naturally by itself. We also look at the number of the milk teeth that they've got. An elephant will start to develop the milk teeth at the age of between 2 to 4 months. So when they have just started, then they're 2 months. When they've got like 4 teeth, then they're 4 months. Then that is how we are able to gauge between 1 month and then between 2 months to 4 months. We also look at how perfect they can use their trunk. The elephants will perfectly suck water in the trunk and blow into the mouth after the age of 8 months. So if you realize that the trunk is very wobbly, they're not able to pick greens or anything from the ground and put in the mouth, then they're automatically under the age of 8 months. We also look at the layer down the feet, which is worn out automatically out in the wild after the age of 3 months. If this layer is still on, that elephant is below 3 months. If it has started to wear off, slightly over 3 months. If it's completely worn off, then it's over 3 months. So those are the things we look at. You also look at the size of their tusks. The tusks of an elephant are part of their teeth. They are the incisors. They start to grow when an elephant is about a year old and protrude outside when they approach the age of about 2 years. So if you find an elephant that has the tusks just starting to grow, then that elephant is almost 2 years or slightly over 2 years if they are protruding outside. And so we look at those things and are able to give the approximation. Some might be bigger in size compared to the age or smaller in size. The size will only depend with the genes of the family where that baby came from. We do have Ziwadi walking away from me, and Ziwadi is about 2 years old, slightly over 2 years. Ziwadi was rescued from the Masai Mara, identified all alone, believed to have been abandoned by the rest of the family members for reasons we could not tell by then. But after some time in the nursery, we discovered that she's epileptic. Sometimes she goes into seizures and she collapses and goes down, which means the rest of the family members might have left her behind. And we understand that elephants are very protective of the young ones, and female elephants have got strong maternal instinct. They don't just want to leave the young ones anyhowly. But if they realize that this baby is not going to make it, they make a decision, and sometimes they give up. And that's why we suspect it might have been the reason to why Ziwadi was left alone. Right now, she's about 2 years old. We put her on medication when she came in, which has improved a lot. And she has stayed for quite a longer period without a seizure. And we believe that will continue until when she's 3 years old and ready to start the transition of going back into the world. We do have the biggest in size right in the middle. That is Maisha, who happens to be the main matriarch. And the main matriarch because she's the oldest female. By natural instinct, when they're out in the world, it is always the oldest female who automatically becomes the leader in a herd of elephants. They don't need to vote about that. They communicate. They have their own languages. Elephants can communicate to one another. We cannot understand, but we can see it at some point through rumbling from the trunk, through exchanging the trunks in the mouth, and also through infrasound under the earth. We can't understand, but they understand themselves. So they talk and know who is older, who is the oldest female, and they'll all respect the oldest female. And that's why a herd of elephants has got all female elephants of all sizes and ages, and boy elephants who are under maturity, and maybe 1 or 2 bulls who are there for mating purposes. And when the boys attain the maturity period, they leave their families, they leave their herds to go and join a bachelor herd somewhere else. Some boys want to stay by themselves. Some boys want to go and look for females in other herds. And that's why the matriarch is always the oldest female in a herd of elephants. And that is the role that is being done by Maisha in the nursery at the moment. We have not talked about Nabulu, who is the second oldest, second in command. She's 3 years old now. She was rescued from the Masai Mara, identified alone, very thin and weak, very much dehydrated and emaciated. And the status she was found in could tell that she had already stayed for a long time without the mother's milk. And that's why it was obvious that she had to be rescued. She didn't have a mother to provide milk. She was about a year old, which means she could not feed on enough greens to survive. And that's why we had to rescue her. I just forgot to mention one of the things that help us give the approximation is when they start to feed on greens. At the age of 8 months, when they can pick leaves and put into the mouth, when the trunk is perfect, that is when they also start to learn to feed on different types of vegetation. At that moment, they're just chewing and dropping, and when they attain about a year old, they're swallowing enough now. And up to the age of 2 years, they can survive on greens alone without the mother's milk. But below that age, they still need the mother's milk. And that is the reason to why we rescue those elephants that are 2 years and below, because we know at that age they cannot survive without the mother's milk, and also they need protection. So if you're joining us now, welcome. We are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. 12 elephants before us now, enjoying the dust. You might have realized that they're moving up and down. It has been cold all through. A little bit sun came in. That's why they want to go into the water, and after being assisted to be splashed with the water, the whole body feels itchy. They want to wrap around, and that's why you can see them walking or running from top to bottom, trying to roll in the dust, to cool the body at the same time, to have fun and enjoy, and also to eat from the water. It is warm a little bit. They want to go in, but the water is not hot enough for them to roll in the mud. So the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust does not only take care of baby elephants and rhinos. We do have other projects that we undertake. For example, we've got mobile veterinary units that will treat any injured animal that has been found out there with any health problems. They are treated and set free to continue their own natural life after treatment. We also have anti-poaching teams that will patrol the parks looking for snares, trying to de-snare them, ensuring that there are no poachers in the parks, there are no people burning charcoal in the parks, there are no illegalities happening within the parks. And our anti-poaching teams are accompanied by the Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers. We do have a community project that will go around the communities that are neighboring the park and the reserve, giving them education on how to coexist. This is a Mukoka and Makta on top. They always love to do that. Boys will always love to play the mounting game. So our mobile veterinary units will treat any injured animals and set them free back into the wild. Our community project will give education to the communities that are neighboring the park so that they know what to do, how to behave in case the animals come into the farms, in case they encounter the animals in the course of the day. The same community project will also go around the schools that are neighboring the parks and the reserves, giving education to the children. When the children are still young in school, they need to learn that all animals are important, and all animals have the right to life. And these animals need to be protected and cared for. They don't need to be killed just because somebody is interested in their ivory, in their skin, or in the meat. They need to stay a natural life and die a natural death, just like we expect to happen to us human beings. And so when the children are taught this, when they're still young in school, we believe they'll keep it in their mind, and they'll be able to make good use of it when they're fully grown, and they'll be able to protect all other animals in general. We've got a dog unit that works together with our anti-poaching team to make anti-poaching teams to make sure that if there are signs or poachers identified, the dogs will assist to make sure that they are captured. And we've got an aerial surveillance that will also patrol the parks to ensure that all is safe on the ground within the parks. And all that is being done together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that all parks are safe and all animals are protected out there. Not only elephants and rhinos, but all animals in general. Kiasa on the ground, Roho trying to play the mounting game, Makta standing close, Kiasa standing up now. So if you're joining us now, welcome. We are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. The elephants have just finished the 3 p.m. milk feed here in Kenya. And you might be interested in supporting the work that is being done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. You are highly welcomed. You only need to go on our website, find out how you can help, how you can donate. And you can donate towards adopting an elephant, which is costing a minimum fee of $50 a year. You can adopt an elephant for yourself or as a gift to a friend. And if you adopt an elephant, we'll open an account for you and we'll be updating your account every month, letting you know all that is happening in the nursery. You'll also get a watercolor painting, which is done by Angela Sheldrick. You'll also get a keeper's diary, which is written every day by different keepers, telling different stories from different orphans. And all that will be brought on your account on monthly basis online. And if you adopt it as a gift, it is a gift recipient that will be receiving the updates every month. You can also donate to us buying a bottle of milk for these babies. You can also donate towards the other projects that are being done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, like the mobile veterinary units, the anti-poaching teams, the community project, the aerial surveillance, and all that will go towards saving all animals in general and ensuring that the area of stay are safe. So you're welcome to go on our website and help support the work that's being done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust as we do it here on the ground. So the elephants will be heading out in the park anytime now. You might have realized that most of them are standing up, which means they're ready to go. As I said, we let them do what they want to do. We don't force them on doing something. We don't train them on doing something. So they're ready to go. We let them go and spend the rest of the day out in the park until at 5 in the evening when they come back for bed. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for this 3 p.m. milk feed here in Nairobi. We shall continue to take care of them and bring you more of these live videos. Continue to keep staying safe from wherever you are, as we shall continue to take care of the elephants. Thank you.